You're listening to an episode recorded during the time Innovation Fuel was part of University Canada West. We are proud and grateful for the work we've done together, and we want to thank the university for being in our podcast. We are now excited to continue the journey of Innovation Fuel into its next chapter. Thanks for listening. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Innovation Fuel, the podcast that brings you fantastic stories from entrepreneurs and key industry professionals. I am Dave Gelareh.
And I am Gelareh Farhadian. We are educators, entrepreneurs, and your hosts. Innovation Fuel is our weekly business podcast brought to you by University Canada West. Each week, we explore diverse business models, entrepreneur journeys, experts' insight, and managerial challenges, and how companies stay agile and innovative during COVID-19. Check out our episodes at www.ucanwest.ca/innovationfuel. Dave?
Yes, Gelareh.
How are you?
Good, and you?
I'm really good. How are you? It's sunshine, and I love sunshine. I love to go outside.
Yes, sunshine. Yes, the clouds have opened. The rain is gone. It's sunny outside. It's awesome. Let's get to the real factors here. And the real factors is, we're talking about UX and UI. When we talk about UX and UI, and a lot of people get confused with this whole thing about what is UX and what is UI.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. I mean, this is a big confusion, especially for the people in some interview, even they don't know how to respond to that one. But I will put it in a way. Some apps, for example, just look at the Instagram. When the Instagram came, it wasn't the only one who talking about the picture or storytelling. It was about how to add a filter and being faster, but in a very simple way. There was other apps. They were so cool, but they had too much features, and it wasn't easy to use. And it's about when I had experience with Instagram, it was just fun. It was just easy, fun, without headache. There was another app. It was the storytelling app. It was super cool, but it required a lot of work to do with. What I'm saying is that it's about how it's your experiences with that app.
So, but then going this further, because, how many times have you gone to, and let's even go away from, we can do it an app or a website. You go in, you get lost. Okay, where am I meant to go? How am I meant to go? I'm stuck. I'm in or I end up on this page. How do I end up on this page? Where do I need to, how do I get to the cart? I can't find the cart. I can't find these things. This is what we're talking about when we're talking about UX. It's that user experience. When we're talking about the user interface, we're talking about the feel, the look of these things. What they look, the nice colors. Is it palatable? Does it actually? Are you drawn to it?
I think that we have someone that can answer, an expert.
Well, you're not saying I'm an expert? Oh, geez. Yes, Gelareh wants to introduce our guest today. Yes, go ahead. I'm not offended.
So we are going to welcome Chris Hobbs, the CEO of TTT Studios. Welcome, Chris Hobbs, to another Innovation Fuel podcast. Hi, Chris.
Oh, sure. How are you doing today?
Good, Chris. It's great to have you on the show. Thank you for coming to Innovation Fuel. We're so excited to get this conversation going. But first, before we get started, my friend, we need to know a little bit more about you. We got to connect you to this wonderful audience, our students and our listeners here. Tell us a little bit about you, Chris.
Well, I guess I could start with saying I was a student once for probably longer than I should have been. In fact, I went straight from student to do my first startup back in the .com days, the crazy raise money, lose money days of the .com, especially during my days of UBC, where I started off as I was the president of UBC Ski Club, so I created the first business actually in the ticketing and the ski business. Unfortunately, that only went so far with that .com bust. and then ended up in online education, which is an amazing business because you're selling nothing. I guess I shouldn't give that secret away, but you're basically selling a product that's it doesn't exist in a solid way, so that you can have very good margins. So during those days, I traveled a lot. Would take my kids, all over the world, and my wife for 6 months of the year. And then we come back and realize the kids just started kindergarten and stuck in hockey and all those fun things. So I founded TTT Studios with my handsome twin brother David and the amazingly talented Josephine Wong. And 12 years later, almost here we are.
So, what is a TTT Studio? What are you doing?
I ask that question daily. So we make software for clients all over the world. I like to put a little pizzazz in there and say, we make the magic happen, because really what we are is we're solving problems. Technology is just a channel for solving that problems. I could argue that the ideation and the UX understanding is another way we solve problems, because sometimes technology isn't needed. Sometimes it's something much, much easier. And really it comes down to understanding your customers, understanding their needs, and understanding how to solve the problems through those different sets of tools.
So if you want to be more specific, what problem you're solving for your customer?
Well, that's very specifically. They usually have some sort of software deficiency, some sort of need. Well, actually, we're really lucky because every day is a unique day for us. Maybe we're creating some sort of large blockchain-ish like project for the American Medical Association to, working with software for banks in Indonesia and Sweden to, working with lots of local startups here, some really interesting ones that are about to launch that, we're really lucky to have touched and, we can say our DNA is part of.
So it seems that you have some kind of universal design for your software. So how do you practice universal design for these softwares? It's that match with many different countries.
Yeah, well, I don't know if universal design in this respect. I think really what it is, when you look at UX and you look at design, the differentiation between UX and UI, that's a special skill set. I think people either have it or they don't have it. I would argue as well that's if you do have the people that have it, and we're really blessed to do so, that's easy for us. The UX, that's more of a science. That's really psychology, science, really understanding need, and also trying to remove bias. Through these processes to really understand what's the minimum we should build, get it into the user's hands, let them start answering some of our questions, and then building out features or anything on top of it at that point.
So, Chris, when we talk about UX and UI, I think a lot of people get really confused with the terminology UX and UI.
For sure.
Can you simplify it for us?
Okay, well, you can't have UX and UI without you. So, this is very person-driven. I just made that up on the spot. I think that's a dad joke even my kids would frown at. But so UI is user interface. That's, the color, the branding, making sure it looks beautiful and palatable to the user's needs. But UX, I think, is more of it's more of a psychology and a science. It's the user experience. It's really understanding, how is the storyboard? How are people going to flow through the software application that we're creating. And I used to say, though, things are just getting more sophisticated and complicated every day. But I used to always say, especially when we worked mostly on mobile, good UX is like you look at a button and you know where that button's going to go, but you also know where the next button in the next view is going to go. Like if you can really make it a great experience that's comfortable and, familiar, there's a reason why we use a lot of UX standards because people that use it, when all of a sudden Tinder came out with that swipe left, swipe right, that's great for some people, but it confused the heck out of a lot of people. And I'd still say it does because a lot of people say, hey, I want to do it like Tinder. And I watch people, because we like to test. You should always be testing all of your assumptions. And we like to test, and you just watch, and people are going, oh, do I go down? Do I go left? Why do I want to go right or left? You really want to give them an experience that matches the need of the application.
So you're designing each UX for each of your clients or for each of your product?
Before we do any project, we have what's called a discovery session. And a discovery session is usually, it's a body of work that usually it lasts between, say, 4 to 8 weeks. We have a 2-week, roughly, depending on the scope of the project, usually a 2-week research phase on our side where we're looking at, who are the users, what gets them up. We want to look at their psychology. We want to look at what is it that they want, what's their typical budget. Like you think about all of these things from a user standpoint. And then we have, we leverage the the UX workshops of IDEO/Google/X/ our own UX workshops that we've worked through the years. Again, to just drive, okay, let's look holistically. Let's look 360 at a product to understand what the need of that product is and only serve that. And again, we're going to be scientific with UX. We're going to try to remove assumption every single time. And after we've driven out a UX, a storyboard, which is kind of like the information hierarchy of that, we like to, at that point, actually, have a set of the stakeholders start doing some prototyping. So you can actually start building some assumptions before you've even committed zeros and ones through these styles of design, and really test, that, oh, well, you know what? I thought that everyone would get how to get to the puppy pictures, but no one got to the puppy pictures. How do we make that path easier, more understandable? So it really is a scientific approach to understanding the user needs.
So I will back to your clients. So your clients come to you and say that this is my specific problem with the software. So for example, I want an app for mortgage. So then you will during the design of this process, you will discover it to see that, okay, so the software or the app that I want to design, what is the best user experience is going to be for that one. And you make it in this, for example, some focus group, you have it, right? This is the way to do it. And then it's not features, right? It's about just designing their experience.
Yeah, I mean, the features will be defined by the needs, the requirements that you've discovered through being user-centric, right? So the features really should be as minimal as possible. And again, it should be based on feedback as opposed to, I think this is going to be good. I mean, at some point you have to have a an hypothesis of why you're doing this. But I just want to step back to say what you said. The first thing is actually the most important, because we have, when we onboard a potential client, we have a scorecard, but we also have a system that, here's the questions that we're going to ask that we want to know, just to know if this is even a project that's good for us. And the very first question it always asks is instead of what is it that you want to build, is what problem are you trying to solve? And have you got feedback from solving that problem? Like, we want to look at it from problem based, not from the I think this is what they want base, because again, users are going to define what's going to be successful in that project or business.
You're asking them the pain points that problem is causing their whatever their individuals that they're serving, in order to figure out how you can then serve them.
Exactly. I mean, we always like to look from the pain or gain. I mean, I think the only time in software you don't have to look at it from that perspective is if it's a video game, because it's a different pain you're trying to solve. I'm bored. It's a different thing, and we don't do video games. There's great companies in Vancouver. I could get you online with like 100 of them. Work with them, but we want to solve business problems at TTT.
Okay, that is good. So back to the UX design. So as you said, the value of the UX design is mostly about to make people have a good experience while we're working with the app or software. That is the value of UX design, right? And so what is the worst UX design can be, and what is the best UX design can be?
Well, I think, it sounds like it could be a billion things, but to be honest, that's really easy, because the best is at any times when someone recognizes what the problem is you're trying to solve. The worst is when you're just guessing and you have money. Because, that combination right there is dangerous. We actually won't take a project like that. We have a scorecard. And the reason why we won't take a project like that is because we're afraid that if sure, it sounds like great business. We'll get paid to do a project that we don't believe in and we don't think is going to succeed because we don't think you're solving a problem. But at the end of the day, our staff is, I'll go to war with any large company with them. They're highly, highly skilled. And if they're working on a project for 6 months that's going nowhere, well, good luck retaining them. Like, hey, Mom, yeah, for the last 6 months, I'm working on a project that's going to get thrown out. Everyone finds my work valuable. So we'd rather just cut that, not grow in taking jobs like that, and instead focus on how we can create value for our customers and in fact for our staff, because, they want to provide the value and not feel useless.
First of all, the problem, need analysis and diagnosis piece is for me, it's more important to understand, because you are asking your clients that what problem you're solving. But based on my experience, some clients, they really don't know exactly what they want or they need. They want something because they heard it, but they don't know what exactly they need. So how do you find it out? How do you do the need analysis for them and just tell them, so, okay, that is what you need actually?
Yeah, well, I mean, what you just kind of described to me is what I call buzzword hell, like when blockchain was really popular and everyone's like, oh, I need blockchain for this and that. And I'm still kind of getting it, just not to the same gravity or mass, thank goodness, because it's totally unnecessary. Because 9 times out of 10, you need a database. You don't need a blockchain. It's not even a forward-looking public data point or the chain. You just want to close it off anyhow. But we're lucky. We have about, 5 or 6 MBAs at TTT. We want to look at the business problem and understand. So when we have our discoveries, this isn't just like design drives a discovery, but really just kind of most of the workshops. But we always have a business analyst as part of it because, again, we want to focus on the business side, the KPIs, these are big investments. Our typical project size is over $200K, like starting. And you better have a business problem you're trying to solve, or you're just throwing away money. And again, we don't want to be part of that. I mean, you probably can't hear this, but I'm pointing over there to my sound-free point. But we have on the wall there is our kind of our rally cry of TTT, which is to build software that impacts 1 billion lives. And if we need to create impact, we need to create a difference, and this is what we do.
And so, and then that leans back. I'm sure I'm gonna go a little bit into the value that the values that you live by, Chris. Like in your organization, the values that what are the values that your organization stands by? So when these problems are coming in, how are you solving them based on around the values?
Yeah, well, the values are always good, right? Like everyone's got values, and we have ours that are up on the wall again, way over there that you can't even see anymore. Integrity, passion, and excellence, and how we came up with those values. We actually had a lot of internal it's funny how these things, they seem like such a basic idea, like, oh, integrity, passion, excellence. Why do you choose those 3? And the discussion you have internally and, that spirit animal that we create as a family to do that, it's such a fun and exciting process. And all those who are listening, I hope you go through it at one time where you do get to identify your mission and your values and all that. But, for us, integrity is really important. Like when I have a sales call, I think the reason why we close as many as we do isn't because I understand the project right away. That's usually by step 2, it's really because I wanted you to convince me why we should build it. And I don't, I'm not going to try to be that sales guy. 9 times out of 10, I take my sales guy hat off and I say, look, I'm going to be the wet blanket. Especially as a startup, we don't do as many startups as we'd like to anymore. We're kind of priced out of startups, unfortunately. But, I want you to say, if you're taking mom's money and you don't want to blame me for it because I don't want to be blamed for it, you better, sell to me why it is we should do this. And if you can't, go somewhere else. Like, we don't want to do that. Passion, because we're always, I consider us as special forces. We're always looking to improve our skill set, our processes, how we do everything. And we're always in constantly training. And excellence, I would say it's the same thing. We don't want to create small, pitiful things. A fart piano is a great thing, but we want to create things that really do create impact in people's lives. And so, we're going to be obsessing over the quality of what we do. And in our processes speak to that quality and how we get there.
So let's talk about this a little bit because I've looked at your website and your software. It looks amazing to me in terms of designing. So I want to know what is your UX design inspiration? So how you get that inspiration for UX design?
We get inspired by the customer and the recognition of the need that needs to be done. Because again, it's very process driven. I don't want to say it's boring because it's super exciting because it's the birthing, of a product or an idea. It's also the death of it very often. I would say probably a third of the projects don't go forward after discovery because we recognize, I give you an example. We did this in our early days before we started doing the discoveries. Okay, that UX. Workshops to get to where we understood. We would just estimate a project. We'd just be guessing half the time because we don't know all the details. It's impossible to know the details. And we have this one client, great guy, young guy, must have more capital than most people because he makes decisions much faster than 99% of the people I've worked with. We did one project with him, worked great. We used our old processes a couple of years back. He came to us, goes, hey, I've got a great idea. We want to do this. I'm like, that sounds great. We started this new process around the discovery. Let's do that and then go. He's like, I don't want to slow things down. Even though you'll do discovery, just give me an estimation and then we'll just do the contract and we'll go. And we're like, okay, I guess it's $180,000 to do this. We really don't know. We'll know after the discovery, but 10 minutes, it was about 2 hours. 2 hours into the discovery, we recognized that it was totally illegal to do what he wanted to do because it broke music contract, right? But here's us going, okay, well, you know what? You just put in quarter deposit, on 180K, that's a significant chunk of money, or, we have a contract for that. We could just go, but of course we're not going to. You rip it up and say, let's do another project together. But this is the reason why these discoveries are so important. And the failures or the recognition that maybe the technology or the business idea is before its time is also part of that, right? Because you go, hey, this is really cool, but people, it's going to be hard to get it. Unless you can tell that story, it's going to be hard to get it, right? But we recognize this in these discovery sessions.
Absolutely.
And this then leads me down the other path, Gelareh, and I think this is the other path that you start to think about is that if the technology is before its time, which we've seen in this world, we've seen Google Glass, we've seen these things that come to, and people are like, and how do you sort of take away that element, Chris, of maybe this is before the time, and maybe you have a great idea and it's going to serve your customers best, but your customers are not going to take advantage of it. So how do you get around those pieces?
Sure. Well, I'd argue that it wasn't a technical problem. The reason why these products before their time is a user problem. So, for example, Google Glasses, okay, you're filming people and identifying them. What's the problem, do you think? Oh, okay. As an engineer, I thought people would like that because I think it's cool that I have this data points and this analysis. But you're forgetting that 90% of the world's going to be creeped out by that, right? So that's why I'm so excited about, Apple. We know they're design-centric instead of engineering-centric. Don't get me wrong, they do great with engineering too, but they're design-driven first. Well, apparently when they're supposed to bring out their glasses, and I hate talking about, things that don't exist yet, but, it's going to use LiDAR instead. So it'll use depth, it'll use information to perceive, but it's not going to identify. And I think that's a really interesting way to kind of, for design to understand the problem and solve it instead of the technology.
Perfect. So what means your discovery? I really liked your discovery session. What is the framework of your discovery sessions? Because I will tell you what, when I was in IT, I was a programmer for a while. And this my discussion with all the clients that we had it, yes, we can create that software for you, but you don't have the system yet. The system should be there. Then I can create the software based on the system that you have it already. I just not can the system, but you want to do your paperwork with plus have a system parallel together. So you need to have a system first, and then but it was for me on that time is quite. I'm talking about 10 years ago. So what is your framework for discovery session? How are you saying?
I think the first thing to understand is that every engagement is unique. And that's why that, 2-week, the research part is so important. We have identified over 37 different workshops. Now, there's going to be half that we're always going to do. Like, it's guaranteed. User stories, user cases. We're gonna always look at where do you want to take this product so we don't orphan it. Like, there's always those ones that you're going to do no matter what, because that's just the science of it. But after doing the research, that's when we go, oh, well, we probably want to do, this KPI, and we probably want to identify this. And these are the data points that's going to drive the decisions towards what we're going to build. So that's why, again, you don't just go, hey, let's just grab the stakeholders and start a session. No. We do the sessions prior where we actually we'll send some some polls out to stakeholders, or, we'll try to, understand what's already out there. In the research, because we might as well leverage, people have spent a lot of money on their design and feedback, and they've already got it out there. Let's leverage their knowledge and what they've created in order to create a better product. One UX story that I like to share, which was such a simple project for us, was because there's a really cool company out of China. They make light bulbs, okay? And then they brought the really successful, they make, light bulbs that, play music out of them, or they do, spooky stuff between you and I, where they have cameras in the light bulbs. No one looks into the cameras, right? In the light bulbs, with facial recognition ID, so it can say, hey, Bobby just showed up to your daughter's house again. Are you excited about that? But they launched their product in North America. They sold quite a few and had about 45% returned. And the reason why is because they just said, okay, here's the Chinese version. It's doing great. Let's just translate that into English and French and throw it at people. And boy, do these languages not occur. Like they didn't make any sense at all. So most people were returning it just because it was an awful experience for them to set it up, which is a tough thing. You actually set up a light bulb, which is hey, I'm twisting it in. That's simple. Now you're adding all these smart properties to it, and you're just kind of basically taking a poorly translated document and doing that. So we actually did the discovery just around the UX. Like, that was it. What's the experience for the onboarding process? And that is it, just onboarding. So it was a relatively small engagement. They ended up just getting 5% returns after that. So, I mean, just using these processes, again, it didn't involve much technical for us, because what it was just the processes for the onboarding, like the story to get them through. And you have to be user-centric. You can't make assumptions. And across cultural boundaries, I think it's very common to make a lot of assumptions. And this is why it's important to work with local knowledge in order to make sure that your product does work for not just your market, but so you can extend it globally.
You bring a very valid point that I had the same experience with the ERP. So the ERP, that is not just translating to the different language that you can use it. It was about legal differences for country. So, for example, I was the ERP product manager for Middle East, but the people, when they look at that one, it was different from the people, the Europeans. It's about the cultural issues as well. It's not just about.
For sure. And if you're in the Middle East too, I guess more of I guess Farsi, and it's all left to right too, right? So, right to left, the right. So you have to take that into consideration. If you ever done a project in German, I'm going to tell you right now, you have to take that into consideration with the big words, But that's challenging. I mean, we're really blessed here because, this is Vancouver, obviously. We're actually here. I don't know. There's a little secret sauce that we're doing, but we actually had a poll go out today, which is to discover more about us from a cultural and ethnic perspective, because we have our CSR, our social responsibility groups, and we want to maintain, knowledge of who we are again, because we're constantly changing, and we also want to know how many languages we possess as a company and as a team. So that actually went out today, which is and it's information that's going to be, I don't know, what do you call it, vanillized, like just completely, we're not going to do anything with it short of just to understand who is in our group and how can we best serve them, and also how can we best benefit. Because, our PM, Nick, today said it the best. He goes, it is a fact that companies that have more cultural identities, a mosaic, whatever you want to call it, are so much better at solving problems. And we witness that. Like, we witness that daily. And so I think it's important to keep, keep recognizing who you are and how you can benefit from it.
So I love, Chris, where this is going. It's actually leading towards a second podcast. I think here we're talking about some human resources elements here, and I'd love to bring you back for a second episode here to talk more about this. If you would grace us again with your presence, we'd love to have you back again. Now, Chris, before we wrap up today's show, we've got to throw a challenge out there. We want to throw a challenge out to our audience. Do you have a challenge that you can throw out, maybe around UX, that you can throw out to our audience here?
Anytime that you're going to create a product, I challenge you to look at it holistically, and I challenge you also to write it down or be able to explain what the mission is in a very clear and concise way, so that all the stakeholders understand what you're trying to do. So you have a clear understanding. I can't believe how often I'm in discoveries where people have been talking about a project for 6 months, and you have two stakeholders going, oh my gosh, that's what you've meant for that long? And they were not even in agreement of understanding what the mission was. And so I recommend, people say, hey, write it down on a napkin. Yeah, you know what? Get a big napkin and write down, these are the things. This is the how. This is the why. This is the what. This is the where. All of that information so that everyone can move forward together and solve problems for people, because, I can't wait for the tools that we're going to have in the next 10 years and the products that are created from them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Chris. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Dave. That was another Innovation Fuel podcast.
To all entrepreneurs and managers out there, we have ambitious students here at UCW who would love to hear from you and help you with your business through our internship, our capstone program. If you think you have a wonderful story or a challenge that you want to share with our students and our audience that you think they can benefit from, we want to hear from you. We want that information. We want you to be a part of this show. We also want you to join our mentorship program. We've got a great mentorship program to help students as they move on their educational journey towards getting into a career or launching a new opportunity. So reach out to us, connect with us at www.ucanwest.ca/innovationfuel.
You have just listened to the Innovation Fuel podcast with your hosts, Dave and Gelareh. Subscribe to our podcast on Apple, Google, or Spotify. Join us next week for another innovative story. Thank you for listening and have a great week.